I recently found one of my favorite books from when I first started this hobby years ago, How to Make Wargames Terrain by Games Workshop. I thought it'd be fun to recreate some of the projects in this book, starting from the very beginning, the classic stepped hill. In this video, I'm going to make my own set of stackable hills using the techniques found in this book and some new ones I've learned along the way. I'm going to stay pretty true to the build in this book, with the exception to one part. The slope sides of these hills are too steep to hold a mini, so I want to make it look more like impassable terrain. This addition is probably my favorite part of these hills. I start off by drawing a rough shape on a piece of XPS foam. For something like this, organic shapes work best. Something that resembles a bean. I'm going to cut my shape out using a Proxxon hot wire cutter. However, if you're following along and you don't have one, you can easily substitute this with a sharp utility knife. For this step, I switched to a utility knife. I'm going to mark 3 guides in the foam to help space out my horizontal cuts. These cuts are roughly half a centimeter to a centimeter deep. Now, it's okay if the horizontal cuts aren't perfectly even. In fact, it's better if they are uneven, since this is going to mimic something organic. In order to emphasize some of the lines and make them different from the others, I'm going over them again with the blade. Next, I make a bunch of vertical cuts all along the edge. These should be uneven and in different angles to ensure a natural look by the end. Just a heads up, it's incredibly important to be careful during this part. It's easy to get carried away. Make sure your hand is nowhere near the direction of the blade. Now for the rewarding part. This technique requires something with a sharp straight edge. A metal ruler works perfectly. Dragging the straight edge over the scored foam will take chunks out of it, revealing a texture that resembles rock. I make multiple passes in certain spots until I'm happy with the look. An important tip is to bevel the edges. This will create a more natural transition between the sides and the top of the hill. As you probably noticed by now, this technique gets a little messy. A bit of cleaning will be required afterwards. In some spots, I go back and add more score lines and reapply the texturing technique. These steps can be repeated until the desired result is achieved. After the rock is complete, it's time to move on to the top of the hill. I start off by applying a coat of thinned down wood glue, and then afterwards a combination of coarse and light sand. Using sand with a varied grain size will give you a much more realistic look. This part is optional, but I find it helps to coat the sand in watered down PVA for extra durability. I'm going to let this sit overnight to ensure that it's completely dry before moving on to the next step. Just a heads up, you're going to notice some continuity differences between the hills, but they're all using the same techniques no matter the size. First, I apply a coat of brown paint to the top. Next, I coat the rock in the darker of my 2 grays. It's important that the paint is watered down, otherwise it will be quite difficult painting this texture. Next, I'm going to take the lighter of my 2 grays and dry brush the sides of the rocks. I find that the soft bristles of a makeup brush work very well for something like this. I then take the same light gray and give the top of the hill a heavy dry brush. This will connect the top of the hill to the sides. Next, I'm applying a coat of glue. Brushing it on sporadically will give the hill a more patchy, realistic look when flock is applied. For the flock, I'm using Woodland Scenic's green blended turf. I give the top a good coating and then tap off all the excess. This next step is an important one and really adds to the overall look. I apply glue to a few of the flatter parts on the side of the hill and give them a coat of flock as well. Adding greenery to the rock breaks up the gray and connects the sides to the top. Here's the larger hill using the exact same techniques. It's important to put something clean under your hill when using flock. It makes for a much simpler cleanup. And here's the finished hills. The techniques shown in this video can apply to any size. I recommend not gluing them together and keeping them modular. This will give you the most flexibility when using them. And that's it for this build. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed that video, make sure to let me know in the comments below, and also don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.